helpless, hopeless, exhausted, not motivated, full of procrastination, resentful, all of which can also be linked to burnout, which is exactly what we are going to talk about today in acknowledging your burnout. It's not just in work. And how can you prevent it? So welcome to episode 85 of the Positivity Experience, Understanding Burnout. Check it out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 84, not 85 of the Positivity Experience. It's your girl Lori, and I am going to talk to you about burnout, and I cannot wait because I not struggle with burnout, but I am always working to prevent it as best as I can. And I've had nervous breakdowns in the past, that's right, plural, and burned out in multiple areas of my life. So understanding what it is and then repeating the same cycle is now on me, right? So it is something that I work with every single day and go, okay, let me distance myself from it. Let me work smarter, not harder, to make myself less burned out. And that is going to come with healthy boundaries, which that was last week's episode. So you want to definitely hear it. And so I want to jump into it because I was literally feeling this way, okay, so I'm familiar with my body. I know my mental health. I know when I'm getting burned out. So for me, it's really easy because I see it. I don't try to fight it. I go, oh, cool. This is my body's way of saying, hey girl, hey, like we're going to need you to slow down or get it together or take more breaks or do whatever you need to do. And I listen to my body, but it comes with over a period of time because you're going to have to be willing to take a step back. And one of the reasons I did this, which was on my list to do later in the year anyway, but was Shawn Mendes. If you guys don't, I'm sure you guys know who Shawn Mendes is. He's a singer. He had a tour going, his concert tour, and he hadn't toured since COVID. And he realized like, hey, you know what? I'm not ready for this. This is just too much for me right now. So he just came out and he said, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to take some time off. He did not give a time limit. Now, listen, I also understand a lot of us can't just be like, okay, we're going to take some time off and just not worry about things, right? But I'm telling you, you don't understand that every human being, including you guys, like everybody listening, has either gone through this, is going through this, or will go through it again. Okay. Like I said, I've gone through it multiple times and I've had nervous breakdowns, like 2, maybe 3, 2 for sure. One, third, it was like, kind of. And that was like when I was trying to figure out now the 2 that I had, one was in my 20s, early 20s, right? That's one of the things that led me to start getting my own help. And then decided to start studying it after that doctor told me, this is your job. And I thought, crazy guy. No, it's not. And here we are. There's that one. And then the other one was right after I had Sienna. So I still had tools, but that was 15 years ago. And that's because I had severe postpartum depression, like wretched, like bad, violent postpartum depression, violent thoughts, not actual actions. And so it just led to burnout. And I think people hear the word burned out, like, oh, I'm just burned out at work. Yep. But you're probably burned out at home too. You're worried about, I'll give you some things that burn me out. Think of burnout and overwhelm pretty similar. Now, this doesn't mean every time you're overwhelmed, you're burned out, but they're kind of like sisters. Now, is burnout classified as a mental illness? It is recognized as a mental illness. And you hear me being a little, apprehensive about it. It is, but it can be linked to other things too. Okay. So I'm just, yes, it is, but it's fairly new in there. And I think there's a reason for that because burnout can mimic and look like a lot of things. So sometimes burnout can look like depression and it's really depression, or it's really burnout, or depression could look like depression, but it's burned out causing the depression, right? So I know that that's a little confusing, but it's important that you understand what that looks like. So I remember, when I had my nervous breakdown in my 20s, which looking back on it, I probably had more in my teens, who knows, but I know for sure this one, right? And so it is from intense stress, right? So fear, anxiety, worry, I already told you, depression, overthinking, feeling nervous, definitely feeling stuck. If you feel stuck, like, oh my God, I'm just stuck, and you can't really describe it to somebody, you feel, let me see if I can describe it. I'm going to try to tell you how it feels with me. It may not resonate with you. I'm just saying for me, it's like you're walking through quicksand. So you're still functioning-ish, unless you completely have a nervous breakdown, then you're not functioning anywhere. But you are walking through like quicksand. Everybody else is like walking and running and doing all of those things. And you're walking through quicksand. And just to go from here to that tree over there is a lot of work. That's the best way I can try to describe it. But it's even deeper than that. But I was trying to like think of an analogy to give you. Overwhelmed. Okay. But overwhelmed where you're unable to even cope. And again, be careful in thinking, oh, okay, well, I don't have depression and all this stuff. I just am burned out. But like I said, we're all under the same umbrella here. Okay. It is under the umbrella. Now, there's a few things that you can do, because guess what's going to happen? Life in general, everybody on this planet, everybody listening, everybody goes through something and is going through something, right? We're all living in some kind of an uncertain world, regardless of where you're listening to, right? I mean, that's kind of a global thing. So, here's the thing. I'm in the United States, and I know a lot of you listen in other countries, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And I love visiting overseas. And when I was in Ireland, it was great. Like, we were talking, and I was talking with somebody, and they really, I'm not going to classify everybody in Ireland as being super balanced. I'm not saying that. The person who I talked to said that at least her and her friends, and she's older than me. She's in her 60s. And so she was saying how, they make sure that they take several breaks during the workday. Okay. Sure. Not 25, 35, 45 minutes every hour. And this is what I do. Well, that's why I have a 15-minute break typically in between sessions. So I can get up, stretch, go get some water, go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack, like something to just kind of break up the day. Or I'll do a quick meditation or something. So this is the only country, I won't say only country, but in this country, we pride ourselves, and I don't know why, we pride ourselves on, hey, you know what? I worked 97 hours last week. Look at me. I was in the office at 8 o'clock and I didn't get done till 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'm really tired, but I just have to do this. No, you don't just have to do this. I understand certain things are going to crop up, and there will be those times that you do have to do those things. But when you start putting your worth on your productivity at work and on your accomplishments, I can guarantee, and I don't guarantee a lot of things, I can guarantee you will get burned out and you will live there. And then you'll be mad at everybody else. Because see, when you get burned out, now it's everybody else's problem. Nobody else is working as hard as you. You're pissed off at them. Everybody at home's annoying. You have no energy to even brush your teeth, right? And now that's the extreme of it, but it does happen. Another thing that is extremely a big cause, and a lot of you ain't gonna like this, is your phone, is your cellular device, any digital thing. Yes, it can cause burnout, because think about what happens. Okay. I'm not saying it can cause. Let me not blame the phone. I don't want to be that person that's like, social media did this. No, that's not what I mean. So it's not the phone. It's how we operate with our digital device. Okay. So think about this. And I can tell you this firsthand. I can look around. I can be like, man, I got a lot to do around here. Okay. Got those clients. Okay. I just need to sit down and rest. Okay. Cool. Need that break. If I just grab my phone and let's say I'm not even scrolling, I'm just like playing video games, like, games on my phone, mobile phone games. Well, I can suddenly think, oh, I wonder what's on Netflix now, right? It's still a digital device, right? Well, now I'm procrastinating, which is all me. And motivation's a BS thing anyway. So I'm procrastinating because everything looks overwhelming, right? Like, no big secret. I have a rack of stuff that I'm going to declutter, and I'm working on a program for people like me who have ADHD and then who really struggle with finding quote unquote motivation to do things. I'm working on it. It's a labor of love. It's taken me years to try to figure it out, and I'm trying different things, and some work, some don't. And so, but this is what I'm saying. Those can contribute to burnout, right? It can be burned out, because now you're burned out because every time you get up and you see the same pile of laundry that you were going to fold for 6 weeks, but every time you go to do it, it looks overwhelming because you feel burned out at home because you're busy at work. So these all kind of go hand in hand. You're not going to get some special award by not taking your vacation time. I know we're just so busy. Guess what? If you got abducted by aliens today, they would figure it out. they would figure it out. It might suck, might make it hard on them. They'd be all right. You are replaceable. I promise you are. You are a CEO, you're replaceable. Yep, absolutely. So stop sacrificing your mental health and then not taking your vacation. Take a Friday. Take a Monday. It's really awesome. I have a client who gets a lot of vacation at their job. And, they use a lot of it, it's like 6 weeks, right? So they use like a couple here, a couple there. And then the last 2 months, November and December, they take, because they have that amount of time left, and then they get like Christmas and stuff off. So they take the Friday and the Monday. So literally for like 7 weeks, they work Tuesday through Thursday. And yes, guess what? They are a very big deal at their job. And when they're not there, things get a little crazy. So they started delegating. They started stepping away from the control. Control will create such a high level of burnout because you're not allowing yourself to delegate. Oh, nobody can do this as good as me. And to be honest, as a person who's a solo, nobody's going to love my job more than me. My company more than me, because I am my job. So even if I brought somebody on board, they're not going to, they're going to have no problem. They'll be like, all right, I'm done seeing clients today. Okay. They don't care. And they shouldn't. You know what I mean? But I can't be good to you. I can't do this podcast well. I can't be good to my clients. I definitely can't be good to my family and friends if I'm not protecting my peace. Okay. And that's the thing. That's why you want to be careful of just labeling things as burnout too, because it can be contributed to other things. Right. And that's the important factor. And it's like when you feel that you're losing control and that you have this enormous stress, you want to talk to somebody. What you don't want to do is, I can power through this. No. And this is where you want to be able to watch what you're nutritionally eating. I know that when I feel overwhelmed or I have burnout, and now I know the difference between feeling overwhelmed and having burnout because I've experienced them and continue to be good at thwarting them. So I'm kind of telling you about burnout and giving you the tools at the same time. Now over on the Patreon, that's the toolbox. So it's going to give you some specific exercises. So if you want to know what the Patreon is, you can go over there. That is a paid subscription, and that is like the toolbox version to whatever it is that we talk about on this podcast. And so there's that. But over there, I'm going to give you a couple different exercises to help prevent burnout too. But I want to make sure that I give you guys a lot here. And, you have to be careful when you are allowing yourself to almost think that burnout is the way that you function. Seriously, sometimes, right? Sometimes you're like, well, this is how I feel. So now your burnout becomes normal. Your depression becomes normal. Your anxiety becomes normal, whatever it is that's attributed to it. And that's the important factor, right? Is you have to set yourself up for success. I say this all the time. You have to set yourself up for success. So you hear me say it, and I say it in just about every podcast and everything I do. The 5 journals, there's a reason they're there. You don't stop priding yourself on being so busy. I know for me, as a person who, when I feel overwhelmed or when I get burned out, I think I'll go down to the outlets. Now, sometimes I'm literally going down for a reason, but I notice it's an avoidance tactic. Now, my procrastination does come from my burnout because I'm trying to get everything done. And this is where the next piece of that is. Delegate. You cannot do it all, or you will burn out. Exercise, you may feel tired as hell, right? And you don't have to exercise every day, just a couple days a week. That's fine. More if possible, less is fine. Okay. But setting up that time to get that in will actually give you some space to really pump up your immune system and stuff like that. Obviously, maintaining your schedule. When you're not good with your schedule, you will have a really difficult time not getting burned out because everything is going to feel overwhelming to you. So let me give you an example. I like to use me as an example. So you could say, okay, yeah, that might work for me. It might not work for me, but at least it gives you a place to start. So I have a calendar, like everybody has their Google Calendar. I have my Google Docs. Typically, it's just me. It's not like I'm sharing it with them, but I can if I needed to share it with somebody. I like to have my Google Docs. And I have my schedule color blocked, color coded and color blocked, which means, and I do the Pomodoro technique. If you go back on this podcast a few episodes ago, you'll get the Pomodoro technique. Okay. And that's how you can do little baby steps. If you go to episode 37, you're going to learn more about micro goals. And I have I'm going to do another one on micro goals, just to kind of keep it at the top and just kind of add some things to it at some point coming up. But you got to allow yourself to maintain your schedule. And this is the key. This is the key to just about everything I'm going to tell you. It doesn't matter how you feel, you do it anyway. Now listen, before you say, oh my God, but sometimes I'm so depressed I can't pee. I got you. I understand that. That is a cycle. That is not a lifelong thing. So when you're struggling in something, right? If you're waiting to feel motivated, ready, and know that you can do it, you're not going to do it. So that's why the micro goals. Maybe you can see that your pattern comes up and over the next 5 weeks, you might be so burned out and so depressed and so everything that just brushing your teeth 3 times a week might be enough. Well, build that into your schedule. Build it into your schedule. Appreciate it for what it is, right? But Maya Angelou once said, every storm runs out of rain. So if you're waiting, but sometimes you got to make that storm run out of rain. Sometimes you got to outrun the storm a little bit without avoiding it. So you want to allow yourself to maintain your schedule. Stop trying to do everything on Monday. Stop trying to do everything, period. So this will help you delegate. So if I'm in the middle of a project, and this is what's going to be effective, I've said it before. If you're in the middle of a project and the time that you have blocked off is done, you finish, that's it. You're done. You're finished. Don't finish the project. You're done. Leave it half done. If you can't do that, that's a deeper issue. Make sure that when you're working, it's as organized as you want it to be. Some people may need it color-coded on their desk. Some people may need this. Figure out what works for you. Try a couple different systems. But at work, it's going to be a lot less overwhelming to you at least know where everything is. You're not going to be able to just let people aren't just going to adhere to what your boundaries are a lot of times. And with that being said, you got to make yourself as easy as possible and do not avoid taking time off. And that's the whole thing. And that's where the organization comes into play. See, that's the thing. That's the important factor is know how to get organized, but don't try to organize in one day. That's been my Achilles heel for multiple, I'm telling you, I watched Marie Kondo, I've watched Home Edit, I've watched The Minimalists, and every single time I watch them, I'm like, yes, I am ready. I will go to the Container Store. I will be like, I'm going to purge all this stuff. I start creating these big things. So on top of that, I still have my clients. I still have the podcast. I still have all of this. Now I've added something else to my list, not just I'm taking something away. I'm adding something to remove something that I'm probably not ready to remove because I don't have a system for it. What's that going to do? It's going to create overwhelm. It's going to create burnout. Then I'm going to be burned out at work. I'm going to be burned out at home. I'm going to be burned out every time I function. And you can't do it on yourself. You know what I mean? You can prevent this, but you're going to have to take action. First, we need to get you into a system, right? Because that emotional burnout will be a problem. Now, here's where sleep is important in general, period, forever, about anything. But it definitely is for the emotional exhaustion. Now, of course, when you're depressed and if you've completely hit the wall, you might be sleeping for days on end, but you're not really sleeping. That's exhaustion, right? So think of a burnout as exhaustion and on a very big psychological level. Meditation is going to be your best friend. Mindfulness, staying in the present space. Doing your journaling, making sure you're getting enough breaks, watching how much alcohol you drink, right? Trying to eat a little bit healthier. Do not go balls to the wall with this and be like, I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, we're not doing that. I crochet. And even you don't have to crochet, but I crochet even if I have 743 things to do, but not because I'm avoiding it, but because I build it into my schedule. When my friend Kay comes over to the house, we crochet together. It's once a month or something like that. I'll take the afternoon off. And even though me and her both have tons to do, we spend time together. We crochet. We're not on our phones, Now let's go into your social media. Social media is one of the biggest things that will create burnout. So on top of everything I do, I guess, I'm a creator, right? And if I don't, matter of fact, recording this podcast was right after I recorded the podcast 4 days before it was due. So I'm technically, once I get this one up, will be a podcast ahead, right? So I know that my podcasts take me, because I do this one and I do the Patreon and I edit it, I mix it, I master it, and I put it up, right? So let's say 2.5 hours to 3 hours, right? Because I have to go back and listen and edit and cut anything out or whatever. Okay. So I know that takes 3 hours. That's a lot in my schedule. And that's not including research or anything that I want to talk to you about or what's my schedule look like. So I'm trying, my goal to know that I will be less exhausted is to be 4 podcasts ahead. So be a month in the hopper. That's my plan. But I know I'm not going to make that. I'm not just going to go back to back and do 4 of these. Could you imagine? I mean, I guess I could. God, I'd be so burned out. I'd be 12 hours of nothing but podcasting, talking about mental stuff and life stuff, editing, doing all of those things. I would be burned out. It's going to take me a month to recover. So by the time I recover, I'm going to have to record more. So I'm not going to do that. My goal is to do 2 a week. Now, I just happened to do back to back because I had a little bit more time off this afternoon before my next session. But I know that having those 4 done will allow me come Thanksgiving week or Christmas week or a week that I just don't feel like recording. I don't have to. The same thing with my social media posts. I have a scheduler in one of the apps that I use. So I can be in the middle of a session. You see something go up on my Instagram or my TikTok or YouTube or something. And you're like, oh my God, she's like on here all day long. I am not. I limit my social media consumption minus the days that I go live to about an hour, hour and a half. And then on the weekends might be 2 hours, but sporadically throughout the day. But you have to be able to police yourself. That's not going to benefit you. And it really does cause exhaustion. Because think about this. Yeah, you're just sitting down. Your body is still. And let's say you're not playing a game. And even then, I mean, that's at least less mindful. But let's say you're scrolling. You're on your TikToks, you're on your YouTube, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're doing all these things. You go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Okay, your brain is still going. So you're not resting. Be intentional when you go on your socials. Enjoy it. I love my Pinterest. I'm on there all the time, right? But I'm on there getting motivation, or I'm like adding a pin, or I'm doing something, or I'm learning a new recipe. There's education there, right? There's a place for everything. But social media and any digital thing can and will contribute to your burnout. And that's the important factor. So like, how do you avoid it in college? Because I get that a lot. Oh my God, I'm cramming. I'm doing all of these things. It's going to come down to scheduling. Listen, I got it. I know it's hard. Studying for anything is hard. Studying for something, living a life, sometimes you're working, it's going to be balance. The big secret to that is, right? Try not to do the cramming little by little by little, right? Make sure that you're trying to find a learning style and a study style that actually works for you, not just the way that everybody else does. Don't wait till the 11th hour. Stay off of social media for hours on end. We want you to have a good party. Just don't party all the time without building it in. That's the thing. You're trying to do everything. Because I know some people play sports, they work, they've got to study. Yes. And no matter how busy you are, you got to carve out time for your decompression. Read a book. Even if you hate reading, find one you like and listen to it on Audible. Find something like I said, I have crochet. Find something that's not like social. You got to be able to decompress. See, in order to prevent burnout, you have to acknowledge that it's a thing. And I would dare to tell you, all of us are burned out with something right now. I mean, you can travel, you can't travel. Gas is 3, gas is 6, gas is, okay. Things that you can't prevent, but you can prevent how you handle it. And see, that's the thing. Don't encourage yourself to keep going down this doom scrolling thing, constantly doom scrolling, and then going, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. And then you're trying to do everything at one time. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And that's a problem. But anybody who is ever exposed to high levels of stress can experience burnout. Everyone. Think of doctors, think of police officers, first responders, nurses, teachers, just to name like a few. There was more than that. But, there's a few things to look out for. Exhaustion is one. Isolation, like, oh my God, This is not to be confused with introversion, but what I'm saying is you could be like, oh my God, I just can't. You're just like, if I could just leave here and go to an island and never talk to somebody again and just avoid everything, that's kind of avoidance can kind of come into play there. Your irritability, getting sick all the time, that's another sign of it. So think of it like this. Sometimes the more exhaustive, now I sound like Sean Connery, the more exhaustive that you feel, sometimes you feel like you have to work harder. And that's not going to work. Feeling exhausted, again, this exhaustion can be burnout, it can be depression, there could be a list of things, so don't self-diagnose. But sometimes you're neglecting your own needs, right? You're like, can't do it. Or, oh my God, I have no time to just hang out with friends. No, then we need to create time. We need to create a better atmosphere. It's not going to happen overnight. You could withdraw from people. All of a sudden, again, these are all things to make sure you talk to your doctor about but burnout is attached to a lot of things. You're in denial that you even have burnout. You're like, no. Depersonalization and realization. That's part of it. Feeling hopeless, feeling depressed. Feeling like when you walk in, you just can't even formulate your brain to even look at something. And the thought of trying to cook dinner is the thought of you trying to build an empire of bridges in one day. And so you got to be really careful of that. Eating and exercise is great. Sleep habits, sure. But those are things that aren't just for burnout. Those are things for all of us. This doesn't mean that you only eat healthy and you never enjoy anything. Oh God, that's going to prevent burnout of doing healthy things. I've talked to people who have done like fitness competitions. I have clients who do like things like that and they love it, or they run ultra marathons or marathons and they love it and they try. Okay. And then guess what? They have to take time off. They're like, oh my God, I can't even train anymore. I am so burned out. So we've created better schedules for them. This is the long game. You get burned out when you're focusing on the short game. This needs to be done. Okay, everything is not a stage 5 problem. Even though you may feel it is, everything is not a stage 5 problem. And this is where you have to be able to say, I'm not guilty for taking a break. And if you feel guilty for taking a break or you feel guilty for not doing the dishes, that is not your voice. That's somebody else's that's in your head. That burnout is being driven by your insecurity or your trauma that hasn't been healed. Absolutely can happen. So if you can't finish when your time goes up and you go ding, 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 and you go, oh my God, I just have like 5 more minutes. Can I just keep, If you can't stop yourself or you're going to keep pushing and pushing, you will create burnout. Don't say, oh my God, I should have listened. I know we all have said that 8 million times, but you can't just go, and trust me, as a person who has had tons and tons of financial trauma when it comes to, hey, I don't want to go back into a van, or, hey, what's my client list look like? And, I get it. The financial trauma can often be very triggering for me to try to work harder. But I know that if I work harder, I'm going to burn myself out. And then what I'm fearing is I'm going to create that scenario. That is scenario and narrative at the same time. New word, scenaritive. I kind of like it though. I might have to use that. It might be my new jam. But you're creating that. If you don't have time for yourself, like there's an old Buddhist proverb. If you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, you need 2 hours. That's right. If you go, oh my God, I just don't have time, then you know what? You need to take the time. The world will figure it out at some point. You have to protect your peace. Work on getting good sleep. Work on good sleep habits. So that means do not social media and do things like that for an hour before bed. Don't just instantly grab your phone in the morning. Only time I will do that, turn off the alarm. But like the only time I will do that is if I'm laying in bed on a Saturday or Sunday and I have like 20 minutes, I'll lay in there and it's not, I might catch up on an email or two, but I try not to do a ton of work. I might go on Pinterest or see what's going on, on TMZ or something that's like mindless. And I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna get up. You got to be able to do that. Hey, I'm going to respond to things and I'm going to do things from the door, whether I want to do them or not. But you also have to rest. And to my lovely friends in Madrid, because I know you're listening, I love you guys, man. They know how to do it. They're like, yeah, we start at 9:30 and then we take like a 2-hour siesta during the day and then we're done at like 6. I'm like, oh my God, you guys got it right. At least this. So stop putting all this emphasis on success being burning yourself out. Stop making your importance and your worth based on your burnout. Stop. If you worry about not having the money and you burn yourself out, guess what's going to happen? You're going to not have the money because you're not going to have the energy. Go on the vacations. Take the times off. Have a staycation at home, but disconnect from your socials. I told you guys this, and I've said it before, on your Google, like if you have Google Play, well, that too, they do have apps for it. But if you have like iPhone or you have even on your regular like Android, there is something on there that's like your time management. You can literally D&D people. You can literally turn off your internet at a certain time on your phone. But the only person who's going to hold you to that is you, right? You're not going to miss anything. Stop with the FOMO on social media. I promise you the next best thing is going to happen. Like something in the news is going to happen. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to happen. You're not going to miss it. You'll come back. It'll be all over everything. So you want to start with practicing some of those healthier habits. So over on Patreon, I'm going to pick this up over there. We're going to talk about some of those healthy habits, how to work on some of that guilt, getting through that. But guys, it's very normal. Like anybody who's over the age of a certain number and experiences high stress or perceived high stress can and is extremely vulnerable to burnout. And it can mask itself as other things, and other things can mask itself as something other than burnout. If you're feeling exhausted, reach out for help. Call me, message me. I see clients, but talk to your medical doctor. Talk to your medical doctor. Let them test for other things too. Might be your thyroid, might be other things, but that can also be contributing to the burnout, or the burnout can be contributing to that. But I promise you this. You burning yourself out with the candles on both ends, is not serving your best and highest good in any way, shape, or form. Yes, there will be times that you kind of go, woo, man, I needed that. Man, I worked hard. Yep. So you better play hard. Work hard, play hard. And it doesn't mean you need money. It means that you need to be able to put yourself as a priority. Okay. So I don't want you driving yourself into the ground to just say that you did this and this is what you did and these are all your accomplishments. And then you're not able to reap the rewards from it. Okay. So you create a multi-million-dollar empire and you have no time for anything or anybody but this job. And this job has become your spouse. Well, now that in some weird way has become your identity, now you're a multi-quadrillionaire when you retire, but you have no life because you don't know what your life looks like outside of work. You've identified yourself as work or a mother or a spouse or this. You cannot do that. You cannot identify as a job title. And this includes being a parent, and this includes being a spouse. Stop saying that that's who you are. That's not who you are. You got to find the joy in the things that are free. That's why that gratitude journal is important. So you guys, go for a walk. Go take a nap. Go jump in somebody's backyard that has a hammock and just park there. It's important. You deserve that. And did you hear that? That's the key. You deserve relaxation.